your group, for example, right? You wouldn't say they're really a libertarian, right? They are a cooperative, right? And they try to play in this center space, right? They are more liberal thinking, open-minded people in there that want to cooperate, obviously, right? But to me, there's also sort of a tension here, right? Because the ideal of the decentralized platform is to play in this column here, right? Because it gives you control over your data, your contracts, the stuff you put out there. So you are what you say you are, right? That's the notion of this world.
Well, that's one of the issues with our chain, is that it's composed of the capitalists, the cooperators, and the libertarians. And
okay, right.
they you know, that makes it hard to cooperate.
You might say decomposed of rather than composed.
To me, so Jim, I mean, good to say that. I mean, to me, this is like a recipe for, I don't want to say disaster, but it's certainly a recipe for a lot of tension, because I think you have to identify yourself with some, one of these three columns what is your playground, right? Are you going to serve eventually some stakeholders out there, right? Are we selling our data stuff? Is this part of a collective we're building, and it's about the knowledge and the stuff we share? Or is it about supporting individuals and building a infrastructure? If you munch everything together here, I don't think that's even possible.
It is possible. Okay, we can have the three interest groups all working for the benefit of our chain or the collective. Okay, if they don't have to work with each other.
Okay. All right.
And that's sort of you can't be elitist really and say, well, unless you believe like me, you're not part of this cooperative.
You can't impose structure. You can't get these bunch of birds to fly in formation.
But you do need some kind of multi-stakeholder governance that works.
You need a set of agreements, rules, parameters, ethics, a culture.
Yeah.
But the culture is going to reform itself.
You can agree on culture. Okay, I mean, there's we had a poll on values, and the majority was in the center. But most of the developers, it turned out, were libertarian. And of course, the investors were all on capitalist. So we could not agree,
But we don't need to agree. I mean, part of the trick here is to avoid agreement. I mean, the Goldilocks and the three bears, there was a big one, a middle one, and a little one. When you got three, people feel, oh, okay, yes, no, and I'll go in the middle. And this is nice. You acknowledge the capacities and the parameters of the left and the right columns, integrated in the middle in a functional way. And there'll be crossovers between the three columns to the level that people feel comfortable with where they position themselves.
Yes,
but if you've got it in the middle, you've got it.
That's good. Good, Michael.
Sounds easy, but it isn't. It's impossible.
This is where I see the most promising, way forward. Is in this middle column here. It is, all of my activities, for example, in the Digital Life Collective and outside, are around building that thing, right? That's focusing on data as ecosystem, right? That's focusing on circular ways of getting values and the contribution circled around, right? And the activities that we can record in these interactions. So I try to be as close as possible in this middle column, because to me this is also the place where I can see some of this notion of collective intelligence arising, because as you mentioned earlier, Michael, we need some kind of an alignment here. You know, it's okay to have people, you know, going that direction and this direction, and it's good to have controversy and, you know, good hearty discussions, right? But in order to get something called collective intelligence, I think you need alignment, you need coherence in this thing, whatever you're building. And you don't have that, you know, people go off in different directions, you don't really move forward, right? You're stuck, you're trapped in circles, really, right? And that's why I'm putting so much effort into this, building out this view here. What does it mean, first of all? You know, how does it look like? What does it feel like? How can people, you know, operate and work inside this notion here? And sort of for me also to clarify a bit, what are these guys over here doing, right? What's their direction? And obviously all the bad stuff we learned from these guys over here.
Looks to me like the first three pieces there, platform, cooperatives, collectively owned, and serves, are sort of statements of principle and overall organization. Then in your next three, heterogeneous, the graphic and the data as an ecosystem, you're talking about the functional implementation as this is the vehicle. The vehicle will have these three pieces and bits. And then your last three are the manifestations, the outcomes, the actions that come from it. So I'd put them consistent with Simon Sinek's line of why, how do we address it, and what's the outcome?
Love that. Great. Yeah, let me put that into this chart somehow. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let me stop here. Unless you have more thoughts, I'm thinking to put it out there, sort of as a tweet or something, you know, in response to what Philip also put together. Because I think he's saying, you know, for the most part, the same thing, except he mentioned ownership, data ownership. What does it really mean? You know, it changes. The word changes to me in the different contexts, right? Ownership in a decentralized world versus ownership in a centralized world versus what we're doing here, right? Is all a different connotation of ownership.
Yeah, make a nice blog post or webpage, whatever.
Yeah, the other line on these three frames is, the first one is in Greek, it's abstraction. The second one is in Latin, it's management and organization. And the third one is in the vernacular, the Germanic, or the voice on the ground, shit and shovel, right? Okay. So things they move through from the abstraction to the structural expectation to the what the fuck happens, you know?
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
do we have time?
The centralized aspect of the collective is necessary for collective intelligence, which brings you to the structure of the you know, the individual or the libertarian side. So you have a commonality of structure there that builds. It's like you have, you know, my view is that so at this level, you have the whole social ledger of everything. At this level, you have the organizational social ledger. And over here, well, somebody else has it.
Right.
No, I think this is a wonderful piece of work, this one, Joachim. It really nails it to the wall. Excellent.
Good. Good.
Like
Thank you. I'll do some else. Okay. So one more thing I wanted to share with you here is the roadmap for the social ledger. New piece I put together yesterday. Someone had posted a cool visual for putting together a roadmap, so I copied that thing I'm using it here for the social ledger. So this is the way this chart works. On the left side, the gray boxes is stuff that is completed, right? That we decided upon, right? And it moves to the past, right? So we're here, the current, and then the new stuff is on the right side. And these columns just signify maybe something that's, coming up next, followed by this and this and this and this. Doesn't have to be in that order, but I do think these are important pieces here, which I wanted to share with you of what I'm doing next and what I think your involvement can be too.
Mm-hmm.
So the two things here that are right near the horizon is organization cards and Zoom cards. So organization cards is when we onboard John Kelden, right? He seems close now. He already talks about MetaMost, which is cool. So we're going to get him on board in a separate domain. For this to happen, I want to create a new friends. There's this friends tab, right? So friends tab, and that shows actually organizations now or collectives, right? And you can click on the card. And what we can also do, and this is an interesting aspect, you can have a join button on that card, right? And then we can define what that means to join, right? In our case, joining means, well, pay your membership fee first, right? Read the principles and stuff. Then you're on board, you're a member. In John's case, might be something else, right? He might decide maybe to collect some money, to cover his costs, or to become a member of the conversation community in Facebook, whatever it is. It really depends on the organization, right? They have their own onboarding and joining process. And we can reflect that in the portal. That's something I wanted to build into this notion of organization cards, right? So you can pay your dues right there in the portal and you're in, right? Next step is, okay, what else do you guys do? And then you're in that context of, say, the John Kelden Facebook 2 project. And then we can scale up. And this is, to me, where it gets interesting. Now, once we've done this for 1 or 2 collectives, there's no reason why not to do that for 10, 20, 100, right? And they can all be on board and they can all have defined their own join, step to become part of it. And then they can either be on our instance or we link to their instance. That's of course possible too if they have a separate box running somewhere. So that's the organization cards. The next piece is the Zoom cards. So this is the Zoom sessions or video calls really. I want to make that easier, and that to me is important. I think also for the John Kelden project, because he's running multiple Zoom sessions in parallel now, right?
Crazy.
You don't know what's going on. That's right. And what I want to provide is a view for him to say, hey, in an hour from now, you have this Zoom call. In 2 hours from now, there's another one going on. Tomorrow, there are 2 more Zoom sessions, right? So you can sort of register or schedule your Zoom session right there as a card again, right? And the card shows you exactly, okay, in 5 minutes, this Zoom session starts, and you can click on the card to join, right? And then you don't need to worry about a link or, where it is or, who. You can actually see then on the card too, who clicked on that link. So you can see who's already on the call, right? So it switches to, on air status at some point. And then you can start talking and you can jump into any conversation here. I think that's important for John.
Absolutely.
These things going, right? So this is one piece of the Zoom card, and the other one is the note-taking piece, the Binary protocol I've developed with the Markdown files. So not only that, you can also pull up a template that you can define, and then have some notes. Take some notes about that meeting that just happened, right? Have it in one place, so you don't have to look around. Find the right document and so forth. Start using it, start writing it, right? And lastly, also the recordings, right? So also make that easy enough to say, hey, here's another button to start the recording, and then here's step 2 and 3 to link that recording to this Zoom card, right? So you can pull up an archive of cards that shows you previous conversations, Zoom sessions, right? And then since they're gone, since they're already completed, you can see now a link to the meeting notes, if there are some, and you can see a link to the recording if they decided to record that meeting, right?
This is mycelium. This is the information pattern is beginning to replicate out because of the pattern that it is. You're incorporating the communication in a way that the communication persists and is intelligible and whatever. So, I mean, in a way, you've been doing building blocks. pseudo protocol and governance and this and that. Those are pieces. This isn't a piece. This is a systemic change. This column changes the whole thing.
I surely hope so.
Oh yeah, it's about bloody time. We needed some of this mycelium. But yeah, it's significant difference. Wonderful.
Cool. Thanks for the feedback. So the next column here, that's mostly your involvement, Jim, here, right? So this is the auto deployment stuff we're still working on, right? To get stuff pushed to our staging production environment. And then eventually also having I'm calling this Cloudera node server here, so that the staging and production sites also run in a Cloudera container, right? So it doesn't have to be somewhere else, or you have to spin up another web server, but maybe, become part of the container that's already running here. And then becoming part of that resource app maintenance thing that we already have with Cloudera, right? So these are important building blocks here, and I think we're getting closer day by day, right, Jim? This morning I gave you some ideas on the console log file, right? So hopefully that gets us closer there.
Yeah, it's been progressing slowly. Hopefully we can figure it out soon. On the Archain side, I've been working on the voting and building the membership and admin directories. Hopefully we'll be able to integrate Robot with the social ledger. So that we can access Archain apps through the social ledger framework and interface to them.
Sounds good. Yeah, the voting is a good piece too. I've written about this direct democracy thing a while back, right? Where you can delegate your votes and have this whole way of voting on important issues. That to me, that's just another type of card, just like the Zoom cards and the organization cards, that we can then add to this mix here, right? And use that as another tool, as another service for members here in the collective. That's cool. So the rest is, is further out. I don't want to drill down too much into that. There's the governance model I put together, call it agile governance here. Get that online tie that to Tiger, as our agile backend system, so they actually execute on the decisions that we make. There's the project expeditions thing, leaning on the knowledge expeditions I've been doing in the past, sort of breaking up these journeys into those stages, right? So you go base camp, camp 1, camp 2, and you just gather your resources at that stage, the people that are involved and the tools you need at that stage to climb, higher up on your project. That's conceptual. I haven't done anything. I have some ideas here, but that's very conceptual. And then, of course, bringing in some kind of a currency here, wallet and a community, a circular currency, to reward some of the efforts. At least starting to record it, see what I've been doing, what you've been doing, and then starting sort of a ledger here to say, yes, I can see your balance, you've contributed a lot, and it has generated value, maybe outside the collective. So that's all acknowledged and recorded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for the event, like a Zoom session, you could reward assign it and collect the rewards for fulfilling the roles.
Right, or actions really to me. Zoom session, has a couple of buttons, right? It says, I'm joining it. That could be a reward already because I know you're there. Or I recorded it, so there's another button and action that we can use to reward people for. So it can really break down into sort of micro actions that are happening, describing, what you did actually with regards to that call. Same with the notepads too, right? The writing, becoming an active editor here could become a reward, or somewhere recorded at least, or just a viewer. You know, it's a different story. Plenty of things. And then, Jim, here, to me, this is also an important piece. You know, GraphQL, I see still as a very important piece. You know, it's still, right now I'm doing direct API calls, you know, trying to, you know, understand and bringing in like Mattermost, you know, direct API calls. Later, if we have a layer in between this GraphQL layer and our GraphQL server, I think that would make things a lot easier. If you begin to look across a variety of cards, right? So voting cards, agile governance, Zoom cards, they all tap into different backend systems, right? And they all have different APIs. That can be a good unifier to say, okay, it's easy for me to query all of these backend data sources and then come up with new queries, right? In a new data representation, visualization for that. So GraphQL is very much on the radar screen still, right? And so it's a NoSQL, so that means a replacement for the current Firebase that we have over here. So that's still, for me, the most easiest one to work with. And I haven't seen a replacement yet for that, but I'm pretty sure at some point we make this available, and then this could be again bundled into the Cloudera thing, right? Yeah, go ahead.
A GraphQL interface to Firebase sounds like a no-brainer. I mean, somebody must have done that already, right?
Right, right. I mean, that's just it's one of many backends.
We should be back-end independent, and GraphQL can give us that.
That's right. That's right. So that's on that end. And then when I say Cloudera and container here, Jim, this is really to say we begin to write our own sort of, I don't know what's it called, Docker images to import, you know, good open source software that we believe in, right? That we have good relationships with. So we can, you know, not dependent too much on Cloudera because they're not fast enough to me, you know, they're not adding applications at a sufficient rate. I think they're stuck because they have to negotiate with the guys who build the application, right? And then they're not always on the same page here, you know, and understanding what Cloudera is about and really wanting to be in that network. And but to me, and as far as I understand this, Jim, is you can build your own containers there. You can add your own apps to Cloudera if you want to, right? Once we figure that out, then we can add any open source tool to Cloudera, right?
Yeah, GraphQL Firebase brings a lot of stuff, and there's one tool here, Firebase to GraphQL, which migrates it to Postgres, which you can run a Postgres network yourself. And I expect there's other ones too.
Yeah, and there's variety in there, Jim, I believe, you know, maybe, you know, we can use SQL and NoSQL, you know, as sources for data, and GraphQL is then the layer that unifies all of this, you know. It's still very cool. Okay, it's 1 o'clock. Wrap up here.
Oh my, I gotta go.
You go, okay.
See you guys. Yep. Thank you much.
Lovely.
All right.
Wonderful. Thanks, Tim.
Yep.
See you later.
Thanks.